What's up everybody, I'm back for a new tutorial, and in this one we're going to take a look at some production techniques that I picked up on, trying to recreate a pretty cool old underground garage flavored house track. If you can guess the track, let me know in the comments. I'm curious to see if any of you out there know this one. And also it makes sense to stick around and watch till the end of the video because I added some goodies like the project file, some stems, presets and this kind of stuff. So yeah, now let's jump right in. So let's start by looking at this chord sound over here. Something that I keep realizing over and over again is that you can make pretty cool sounds by starting just using sine waves. So if I turn off this processing and turn off this filter and this chord over here, then we just start with an operator, which is an FM synth, and kind of having a sine wave over here. So if I press this, if I just press the key and turn this operator off, you will see we just have a sine wave. Sine waves can already sound pretty cool if you play them as a chord. So I use this chord tool over here, which is playing a minor 11th chord. If I open up this piano roll over here, let's say I'm playing a C. It's adding a minor third, perfect fifth, the 7, minor 7th, and then the 11 on top. You can see here, it's this chord. So already like this, you have, just by using a sine wave, you have a sound that you will hear in many house productions. Simple, but it works. So I kind of fine-tuned this sound a little bit. I added a filter with an operator to kind of move the frequencies around a little bit, like to control the volume of different frequencies within the chord. If we look at a spectrogram, we can see the filter is adding some distortion. We're using like this OSR algorithm to create some distortion, and it's a bandpass filter. So you're kind of picking a point in the frequency spectrum and cutting off above and below. This way you can see, technically they should all be the same volume, but as you can see here, the filter is kind of cutting things off, and this will change the sound a little bit because all of a sudden there's a more focus on this frequency, on the D in this case, instead of the C. Gives it a certain twist sound-wise. All right. And then I wanted to dirty up the sound a little bit. So I just duplicated operator and just created some noise. All of a sudden, because you have this noise layer, it sounds a bit sampled. I think in the original, probably there was an analog gear involved. There was some sampling going on. So you get some noise from that, but here I just added some, simple as that. Then some processing, mainly some distortion and reverb. I don't want to go into the details. If you have any specific questions, of course, let me know in the comments. But basically, this is a bit crusher. By reducing the bit depth, you get some crunch and more noise in there. Some erosion just to, make it a little bit dirtier. Even some Saturn, I think, some tape distortion or something like this. Nothing too crazy. Some reverb. And did I do some EQing? Just a tiny bit, like a little dip around here. Just gives it a bit of character. And then even another filter, another bandpass filter, to just have some control. The noise sounds very loud here, but you can turn it up and down as much as you want. So let's give it a listen without the processing. This sounds cool too. Okay, so let's go to the notes. So I tried to replicate it as well as I could, and something that also comes up in the bass line as well is jumping off octaves. So basically here, to make it thicker, I played an octave like G and G. Let's give it a listen. You mainly hear this note up here, but to give it a bit of body, I added the lower note as well. And then this part, you basically have a C and then this another C an octave higher. So this is triggering a chord, of course, as I showed you before. Here we have this chord tool, which allows you to play chords by just pressing one key. So if we now take a look, it's just jumping up and down one octave, and this gives it this interesting sound. And then this keeps going. So there's a lot of jumping around, which sounds a bit wild, but I kind of like this sound. And at the beginning, I didn't have the intuition that it was this octave jump. Now I do, of course, but needed a moment to recreate it. So yeah. Cool. Let's add the drums. So something we can say about the drums, something interesting. There is going to be a bass line coming in later. So the kick drum, which I sampled, is relatively short. I mean, look at this. It's 70 milliseconds. For a fat, like modern micro house track, you might even have 250 or something like this. So this is a very short kick. Then drum-wise, these are just some random garage drums, but something we can look at, or something I realize more and more, is that you have these, or something also I spoke about in my other videos, is that you have these different tonalities that kind of create some sort of line. So here, for example, we have the kick, then something that almost sounds like a snare but is a hi-hat, and a shaker. Open hi-hat in between, so we get because this sounds, the shaker sounds sharper and short. Let's just listen to the drums. Okay, and then we have the snare coming in. Yeah, something like that. And here, something I find interesting, which is a good technique always, is you have the snare. It's the same snare, but I added a little filter to the snare. I made it short. First of all, I added a filter, and then made the other one even shorter and switched the filter up a little bit. So you have a bandpass which leaves some frequencies through, and if you change the bandpass, you have a very similar sounding sample, but different sound to it. So this is gonna make it sound like interesting, almost like duck, even though it's the same sound. I imagine, like, if you're using some analog gear or a Groovebox, you can use the filter and even mess around with your hand and make it sound organic this way. But if you're working in Ableton, sometimes two of these are enough, and I duplicated the snare to create this sound. Cool. So then I replicated the bass line. Once again, it was mainly, I started out with a sine wave as a sub, so that would sound like this. I don't really have processing on here that is relevant, so once again, you have these notes of jumping around. You're going up an octave, like just like the keys had like the G and then going up an octave, you kind of switch between subby notes and melodic notes. So you're kind of going upstairs. You see, like G, an octave up, then playing the D, and D an octave up, then the C, and you have some movements like this. So once again, this is just an operator with a sine wave, so it gives you a nice sub. And then I just added a little bit of FM stuff going on in here. Yeah, I'm not going to go too much into the sound design. You can just mess around. I added this to have it just changes the sound a little bit. I can make another video about FM synthesis for bass sounds if you wanted, but I think this is enough for now if you take a look. All right. And then combine this with the drums. I'm not too happy with the sound of the bass, but it's a good starting point. Like you hear these kind of subby sine wave based subs for UK garage sounds. So the acapella that was used in this track is mass ordered Let's Get Happy. So what I liked about the use of this acapella is that if you listen to the whole acapella, there's so much stuff going on. But the guys who produced this remix or this track basically, they just used a very short part and looped it together in a way that made it sound kind of cool. So let's listen to this. Just get happy. Just get happy. Just get happy. Just get happy. Just get on your feet. Just get makes you feel real good. Just get on your feet. Just get makes you feel real good. And another thing, as a tip for using acapellas, what I think they did very well is like the time signature of the delay on this thing. It's pretty cool. It's a quarter note, straight note, so not dotted or anything like this, and kind of gives it this. It just repeats it in a nice way, so that the sound comes up like in sync with the hi-hat. And you chop off the sound over here, so this is without the delay or the echo. So this sounds weird, right? But just adding some delay makes you able to just repeat this. And what's the cool thing about adding a delay or something like this is it's gonna get all the dirt from the acapella that you need. So it sounds like basically uses the same thing, so it kind of extends it in a nice way. Yeah, I feel very good as well. Wow. So the last two elements I wanted to talk about are this little, I really liked something like a clav sound in there. And just puts this little chord fill. And it sounded cool. I don't know how they did it exactly, but I just tried to replicate it in a certain way. And something that's a cool technique to create sounds like this is just grab a piano or some sort of clav or electric piano or something like this, and loop it. So this would be kind of the sound that we're starting with. But you're kind of making a loop to almost use like something like granular synthesis. So in granular synthesis, you pick like a part and you loop it, for example. That's one thing you can do with granular synthesis. And now, because the loop is very short, you kind of start creating this thing, right? But if you play it very short, it sounds like some sort of piano. So this is really a technique that you can use to create all kinds of piano sounds yourself that no one is going to be able to replicate that easily. So I added some processing because I kind of wanted to thin it out. And so I added just an EQ low pass to, kind of remove the low end. Devlog by Sound Toys. That's just something that really crushes the hell out of it. Take a listen. Let me turn these things off, then you can hear what's happening. Right? Filter freak. So this track was all about bandpass filters. So to thin it out, kind of a telephone effect that you have, just the bandpass filter. This doesn't almost do anything. This is just a bit crusher once again. decimar. And then we have this harmonizer. This is something, this is a cool harmonizer, and you can kind of shift the formants of your sounds. So if something sounds a bit dull, or you want it crunchier, but kind of also lift up the high end, it's a cool tool to do something like this. You hear it's like, with this it's more like a bit more open. Yeah. Chord-wise, I don't even really know what I was doing. I knew we were just sounded all right, like playing an F minor. Man, this is not even an F minor. What do we have here? Don't ask me. Tell me in the comments what I did here. I went by ear, just like the long chord and a short one. Sounded okay. Exactly. So now the last step. Not gonna spend too much time on this. This was just kind of adding a little extra step, which I used a synthesizer called Diva for, which is here in a Juno setup. So it's kind of just a sawtooth wave with a filter, a tiny bit of envelope, and then playing just a minor triad. So this is just a D minor and a C. There's some reverb on there and a little bit of bit crushing. A little bit from Ableton's reverb as well. The bit crusher adds some noise, and then the plate creates a delay. That's it. Let's take a listen. Just get happy. Just get happy. Just get on your feet. Just get, makes you feel real good. Just get on your feet. Just get, makes you feel real good. So yeah, thanks for watching. It's been a while that I've uploaded, so I thought I should add some goodies to the mix. So if you want to grab this project file or the stems, if you're not using Ableton, feel free to head over to my Instagram page. There is a link in my description with a link tree leading to a free download folder. And there should be another folder in there saying Underground Garage House Remake. And then you will find some goodies in there among some other things from older videos and projects. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions, any comments. Feel free to contact me on Instagram. And I hope to see you soon. Ciao. Just get happy. Just get happy. Just get